Hey guys, John and Dan here with the SmartB Sports Update.
Yep.
Episode 2, but episode 1 of our previews for the weekend.
Yep. How you going, John? Good to see you again, mate.
Yeah, you too. It's only been a few days, but it's good to see you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So much has happened in the world.
Yeah.
We are going to get to South Sydney.
Yes.
But I guess we'll do some game previews first.
Yep. Sure.
Because, we need to kick off tonight with the NRL, Parramatta versus the Panthers at Bluebet Stadium.
Yep.
It's our Thursday game of the week.
Yep.
Thursday game of the day. Just one thing about this that I heard this morning from MG.
Yep.
This is the first ever sellout Thursday night game in NRL history.
There you go.
They did Thursday night games.
There you go. Wow.
And that kind of harkens back to what I was saying on Monday about suburban grounds being the way of the future. This is at Penrith Stadium. What's it called this week?
Yeah, Bluebet Stadium. Yeah, this year it's got a different name, but that's great news. I mean, if you're going to do it, I'm not surprised that it's happened at Penrith actually. So just looking at this game, John, it might interest you to know, even though Penrith, this is a grand final replay. But Parramatta's actually won 3 of their last 5 against Penrith. And Mike Acevo's got 29 tries in his last 35 games. So he's...
that's a good bet to put on then.
Yeah, there you go. So,
what's he paying score anytime?
So if you're looking at Mike Acevo to score a try, as I said, 3 of their last 5 against the Panthers, there would not be many teams that would have that record in their last 5 games against the Panthers.
Over the last 3 years especially. They played earlier this year. Did they play earlier this year?
I'd say that. Sorry, it's just escaped me, but they would have. Yeah.
And I know Panthers have won 30. I've got it written down. 33 of their last 36 at Bluebet Panther. What is Panther Stadium actually called?
It used to be called just Penrith Football Stadium, but now they just change the name every year.
So Penrith at 33 of the last 36 games since 2020. When they started going on their, what they are now, become the absolute powerhouse. I don't think the Eels have any chance of winning, but, 3 out of their last 5 means they might not be a bad bet.
Yeah, they've sort of, I think the Eels have copped them at the wrong time. If they copped them next week, they would have got the resting of players. And
I know they're resting a couple of players today, and there's someone making their debut, actually, for the Panthers, who's supposed to be really good. It is Jesse McLean, 18 years old, playing at fullback.
Yeah.
So that'll be that's not going to make a massive difference to Penrith. They've showed, just resting 2 players. Brian To'o is still out. Brian To'o is back in.
Yeah.
And then Dylan Edwards is being rested, I believe, not actually injured.
I'm trying to give the Panthers reason to love the Eels, but if we're being realistic, it's probably only going to go one way, that go.
Yeah, but you never write them off. Eels have got pride to play for, which is about all they've got to play for, and they are currently, who's got best odds on them actually? So what are you really gambling with, everyone? Remember that.
Gamble responsibly.
So look. Boombet's got Para, according to SmartB. Don't forget to go to smartb.com.au for all the sporting news.
Yeah, absolutely.
Boombet's got Para at $8.60 this morning. Now look, if I was a betting man,
that's their best,
which I am, I actually will probably put $5 on Parramatta. Look, I'll probably lose, but if I win, that's
what's $5, right?
Yeah, that's a risk I'm willing.
That is responsible gambling.
They are going in a multi, not a chance to go. But I think it'll mean if Penrith smash them, and get put a cricket score on, they have a big enough differential already to be able to rest a mass of players next week.
So it's just going to come down to, do they care that much about winning the minor premiership? And maybe they don't. That they'll finish in the top 2 either way here now, I'd say. The Warriors would have to win both games. But their differentials won't. No, so Penrith are locks for the top 2. they probably don't care that much about the minor premiership. If you've won the last 2 premierships, you don't care that much about the minor premiership.
They generate enough income through their success without having to worry so much.
Yeah.
Already got their name on there. Would this be their 3rd in a row? Yeah,
it would be. And they made the grand final in 2020 as well. So if they were to make the grand final, it'd be 4 grand finals in a row, 3 premierships in a row if they can get it done in 2023, John.
And so, yeah, I don't think there's been a 3-peat for a minor premiership for a while.
No, I think the Roosters might have done... Oh, no, I think the Roosters won a couple in a row. I don't think they got 3 in a row, though. So
I don't think even Melbourne during their salary cap year.
Actually, I think maybe I think 06, 07, 08, they did win 3 in a row. Yeah, so I think they were the last ones to win 3 in a row.
So they got the last thing they can do, the current Panther powerhouse can do to get into that level is to win a 3rd minor premiership in a row, and then the next thing they can do to prove they're better than everyone has ever been in the NRL is to win 3 in a row.
Yeah, 100%.
In the outrights, Penrith are still paying. They're basically unbackable at this stage. I got no data. Hold on, they're paying about $2. That's basically unbackable for a premiership. So
it's hard to see them not winning it again.
Yeah, and they will definitely. I think they will definitely win tonight. But he's hoping for Parramatta so I can make $40. Yeah. And then obviously we can move on to
the next game.
Friday game. There's not much that I want to say. Warriors vs Dragons, 6 p.m. in Auckland.
Yes, we're on to your mob, John. I mean, I'll try and give you a bit of optimism here, John. I've done a bit of research on this game. So the Dragons have only had 1 win since round 19. But the biggest margin they've lost by in that period is only 12 points.
When people brag about things like that.
I'm trying. Because they're the outsider, I'm trying to give the punters something here, John. Your Dragons winger, Michaeli Ravalawa, has 11 tries in his last 7 games. So if you're having a look at a first try scorer or any time try scorer bet, there's an option for you. But I guess maybe looking at it a little bit more realistically, the Warriors are going for 7 wins in a row for the first time since 2002,
wow.
John.
They'll also, if they win, when they win, they'll be 38 points. That means they can't be caught into the top 4. So the win this week guarantees their top 4 spot, which means they can then rest players next week.
Yeah. I mean, assuming that they can't, and I don't think they can. They can't get into the top 2, can they?
They can, depending on Penrith and Broncos losing.
Yeah, I think the Broncos differentials 213, Warriors 136.
Yeah.
So it's hard to see So given that the Warriors can't really advance into the top 2, then once they lock in that top 4 spot, then I'd say they will look at resting players.
The only way they're going to get top 2 is if Panthers or Broncos lose 2.
Yep.
And Warriors.
That's the thing. Once we start talking in these hypotheticals that just aren't going to happen,
and they're not.
You sort of go, well, what's the point?
Warriors aren't going to do anything about it, so they'll smash the Dragons tonight. Zach Lomax is back for the Dragons. That's the only change they made from that Melbourne side. He was out injured.
I guess the good thing for the Warriors, though, is, all right, they can't make the top 2, but it does guarantee them a home final. Exactly. They'll play against either the Panthers or the Broncos in the first week. You'd probably say they're the outsider going into that, but even if they lose that in week 2, they'll have a home semi-final in New Zealand.
Whoever wins from the bottom 4.
Yeah, and those years where they played all their games in Australia and didn't play at home because of COVID, I bet a home semi-final would have been the last thing on their mind.
It's going to be a nightmare for any team that has to go there.
Absolutely, John.
That's the Warriors-Dragons. You'd have to say the Warriors are definitely going to win that one.
Yeah.
We move into the other game of Friday, which is Dolphins versus Cowboys.
Yep. So a couple of little dot points on this one, John. the Dolphins have won just one of their last 10. So they've hit a form slump. They are the outsiders for this one. But 5 of those losses in that period have been by 10 points or less. And the Dolphins also are 3 from 5 against Queensland, against the other Queensland-based teams. So
the thing with the Dolphins is they're in a massive injury toll.
They are. Yeah. I think the season's just got too long for them.
Yeah, and first year, they did well at the beginning, started getting...
Yeah, they won their first 3 games, yeah.
It showed lack of depth, and that was always going to happen with a new club.
Yep.
You know, they had highly publicised struggles signing players.
Yep.
And I would have to say that, you know, even though they're going to finish maximum... Look, in theory, they could finish 11th.
Yeah.
They've avoided the spoon.
That's it.
One of the bottom 3. I think that's a successful
And
team.
you said it, John, they've avoided the spoon. I think if you're a new team into the competition, your first goal is avoid the spoon in our first year, and they've done that.
And so now they've proven that they can play. As you said, they've beaten they've won 3 of 5 against Queensland teams. And the other Queensland teams, or 2 out of 3 other Queensland teams were both through most of the year in the top 8.
Yeah. I think maybe a bit of a problem is we just got our hopes up so high when they had that great start to the year, and I think now that they've gone down into the bottom 4, we're sort of just a little bit disappointed, but we've just got to keep it in that context of they're a new team, it's their first season. For any new team in their first season, you get a pass mark by not finishing last,
100%.
and they get that pass mark.
I think they'll be much improved next year. Hopefully they can get some signatures. The Cowboys... We've talked about the Valentine Holmes thing. Valentine Holmes still not back. I think he might be back next week, right? If they can.
Yeah. I think he's a chance of being back next week. Yeah.
So he was suspended, right? Yeah. So they have a much better, well, not much better, a better points differential than both the Rabbitohs and the Roosters, who are they competing against.
Yeah.
So they have the points differential to beat both the Roosters and the Rabbitohs to the 8. And so I think this is actually their key game of the season. Rabbitohs get the 2 points because they're on a bye, so they'll be on 30. If Cowboys win and they're on a bye, if Cowboys win, they will leapfrog the Rabbitohs, right? Oh, no, wait, sorry.
Actually, no, so theirs is 12 and theirs is 73.
Yeah, they only have the points differential to beat the Roosters, not the Rabbitohs.
Yeah,
so they need to win this week and they need to win next week.
Yeah.
And if they do, they will... Well, we'll get to the Rabbitohs in a minute.
There's a lot to get to with the Rabbitohs.
Based on the Rabbitohs nonsense, I don't see them winning again this year. They only got the 2 points this week because of the bye, so they only stay in the 8 this week because of the bye. If the Cowboys win this week, and even if the Roosters win next week, the Cowboys will be the one who finish 8th. And that's what the Cowboys have to play for. They have to win. They're going to be playing a Dolphins team with absolutely nothing to play for.
Yeah.
They don't have to try hard to avoid the wooden spoon. They literally can't get it. They can't really drop any lower on the ladder. They can, in theory, go a little bit higher, but that's meaningless. That can also be dangerous. You know, they've got nothing to play for, so screw it.
Yeah. And I mean, the issue for the Cowboys as well is going to be that the Roosters, and we'll get to that game later, but the Roosters play the Tigers this week.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's going to be 2 free points, basically.
Yeah.
They
have to win. They don't have a choice.
So if you're the Cowboys, you just got to win your 2 games and hope that other things fall into place for you.
I think this game here will be the one. Like, if they lose this week, Cowboys lose this week, highly unlikely, but if they do, they won't make the 8. I don't think they can do it from next week.
No, with South having the bye, going to 30, you're right. So it's a must-win game for the Cowboys. And look, if they don't beat the Dolphins have hit a form slump, as we just talked about. They don't deserve to be in the 8, and they won't do anything in there. So there'd be no point in them making. I mean,
straight out in like probably a shellacking in the first round. Because actually, the fourth to 8th is way more complex than you could even. Fourth to 8th is way more complex than even in we're going to know the last game of the round next week.
But that's the way you want it.
100%. Yeah. And then so we have the Storm Titans on Saturday. He's going to kick off Saturday, 3 p.m. in Melbourne.
Yeah. Ryan Pappenhausen's been named at number 19 to return. Hopefully he gets a run. So a knee injury has had him out of the game for more than a year, John. He's played 3 straight Queensland Cup games. Only got through 80 minutes in his last Queensland Cup game. So
you've seen I'd seen him playing minutes.
Yeah, hopefully he gets a run, and hopefully he comes good for the Melbourne's run at the finals, John.
So they need to win both of their next 2 to keep 4th.
Storm.
Right. So if Sharks or Raiders win,
that's the easy way of doing it. Yeah, I mean, once you start relying on other results, you're treading on dangerous territory.
Say the Storm won't be able to rest players running into finals because of that. Even if they win this week, if they don't win next week, it's possible for the Sharks or the Raiders to pit them into 4th. So I would say that Storm are, they have to get Pappenhausen's game time.
Yeah.
And they have to just really, really go hard the next 2 weeks to retain that 4th spot, because 1 to 4 is a massively powerful.
Huge advantage. You get that second chance. Finish 5 to 8. You've got to win 4 games in a row to win the premiership. Yeah. I think the only team to actually do that's the Bulldogs in 1995. John, they came from 6th to win the premiership that year. So it's just very difficult. Teams have made the grand final from outside the top 4, but winning it's another thing.
It's too hard.
Yeah,
especially when you have to play someone that's most likely going to have had a bye in the finals.
That's right. And the week off actually used to work against certain teams. It'd throw them out of their rhythm. But I think these days the modern game, it's so physical, so brutal, and the demands on the body that the week off is just a godsend at the back end of the year.
Is going into the finals. So that's Storm versus Titans. Titans, there's nothing to talk about. They're in exactly the same position as the Dolphins. They're 13th, Dolphins are 14th. They have nothing to play for. They're on the same amount of points. They can potentially move up to 11th, depending on blah, 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 blah. They can't get the spoon. They've got literally nothing.
All they're trying to do is impress their new coach, Des Hasler, in time for next
100%.
year.
And that's what the guys do need to do. And again, that can be dangerous. It is at this time of the year where you get some of those, we've talked about it. I don't think, we have talked about it before, 2009, when it was the Bulldogs Dragons. But all the Bulldogs had to do to win the minor premiership was beat the Tigers. Game was on at the same time, and the Tigers were 15th. Yeah. And they lost. So there's always a danger.
And you might remember, I'm sorry to go a little bit off track, but you might remember that season the Bulldogs actually lost 2 points for having an extra player on the field in one of the games. If that hadn't happened, we would have got in for the
There was also the Jamie Soured Milkman against Jamal
Idris. There was Jamal Idris. Yes, how could we
I was at
forget
that game.
I don't forget that one. I was screaming at the TV, John.
It was I was there and it was like, all right, let's go. And that brings us to the Roosters and West. Speaking of West, I'm actually going to be at this game. This is my end of year tipping comp get together.
Yeah, nice.
I'm the only Dragons fan. It's all Roosters and Tigers fans.
That'll be at Allianz Stadium. You'll enjoy that.
It should be a shellacking. So there's some good movement in the Roosters for their team. So Sam Walker's back in first grade for the first time in I think since around 7.
Yeah, right. Well, that's interesting how they're bringing him back now that they've found form again.
Yeah, 100%. Tedesco's out, and so Joseph Manu is going to go to fullback. I think with Suwali gone, Joseph Manu is the logical choice for long-term Roosters fullback. Yeah. And Jared Warrior-Hargreaves will be back.
There you go. They were 14th after round 22, John, and they look gone, but now they're in equal 8th spot and only, as you said before, only 10th on differential. So there you go. It's amazing what 3 wins in a row does for you in this competition.
And so they're going to beat the Tigers. I don't see any danger in that one. Next week we'll preview the Roosters Rabbitohs match, but I can't see the Rabbitohs winning. So this is it for the
You just feel like it's just what the Roosters need. They need to win, so they get the best out. I mean, they're playing the worst team in the competition, so they're going to win. Then next week, going into the finals, they get a tougher tune-up. If they win 5 in a row. Yeah, they're one. We're talking about teams coming from outside the top 4. The roster they've got, they're one team that could win it from outside the 4.
Yeah, I think they'll scrape in at 8th points. Blah blah and wins, losses, mathematics. We go on about the mathematics every time because we've got to talk about it. But it is possible, in theory, for them to finish 5th. They're not going to. It relies too much on Sharks, Raiders, and Knights losing. But I think Roosters will be your 8th team, and it'll be based on smashing the Tigers hard. But is this Benji Marshall's first official game in charge? Yeah, it is.
Is it? Oh, so he's officially in charge now. Is it? Oh, because I thought that Tim Sheen's was actually officially seeing out the year, but you're right. I think they seem to have moved that to one side, and Benji's sort of the official messiah now.
Funny stat, actually, that I don't know how much it holds true. I'd actually have to look into it, but it's based on 100 years of sport that I heard about 5 years ago. That it's not the game. People think it's the game after a coach is sacked that the team goes well, but actually it's the second game. The first game, the incoming coach, because you get sacked on Monday, it takes them 2 days to appoint a coach. It's business as usual.
Yeah.
It's in the second week that the new coach makes these slight changes, and nobody studied video on what these changes are going to do. So it's the second week. So Tigers may end the season.
There you go. Well, you are an optimist, John. I'll give you that.
I kind of like the Tigers, man.
Yeah, I think we all do. Yeah,
They're not one of the knob clubs. So that's it. Roosters will win. Probably most. You can't. They're unbackable favourites.
Yeah.
Which takes us to Raiders versus Broncos, which will 100% be our. That's Saturday still, right? Yep.
Yeah.
That'll 100% be our Saturday game of the day.
Yeah. So the Raiders again. There's some surprise stats today, John. Raiders have won 4 of their last 5 against the Broncos. For Corey Oates, it's his 200th game. So there you go.
We got something to celebrate for. Broncos are coming off a bye, which we've just discussed. Business end of the season, bye.
That's about 4 of their last 5, the Raiders against the Broncos.
And Raiders beat them in round 6.
I can't believe some of these statistics.
Raiders beat the Broncos in round 6 in Brisbane. And this time they're playing them in Canberra. If there's a team that is further disadvantaged by coming south to Canberra, it's only the North Queensland Cowboys.
Yeah.
Broncos have to go from nice, sunny Brisbane all the way down to free. I was in Canberra last week. It is freezing.
Yeah, it's
It said it was 10 degrees. It wasn't 10 degrees.
Yeah, and that's such an advantage for them in the winter months, especially with the night games.
Yep.
So Pete.
Yeah, this is 7:35 p.m. It's going to be.
Players talk about they run out and their hands start freezing up and they're numb and. It's a different ball game. Playing in Sydney is a different ball game to playing in Canberra.
Meanwhile, Raiders fans are in the stands in singlet and t-shirt.
Yeah. For them, that's the thing. For them, it's nothing.
It's a bit balmy.
Yeah, I bet teams look at the draw at the start of the year and go, "I hope when we go to Canberra, I hope it's a day game and not a night game."
So, Broncos, if you just take paper. Broncos, week to week. So this week's paper, team on paper versus Raiders, Broncos will win. But the Raiders are, when you go back through history, Raiders are a very good chance. And, look, it is possible for the Raiders to finish as high as 3rd.
Yeah.
They are, I think, in probably the best seat to take that Storm 4th spot if the Storm were to lose either of the 2 games over the Sharks. But, the Raiders have got everything to play for. Broncos might want to fight for that minor premiership, but they are coming off a bye. This is an intriguing game. I think it'll be a cracker.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd say probably is the game to look at.
That or it'll be, what was the other one I had? The Knights versus Sharks on Sunday will be matched around, I think. So we'll get to
It's that. Between those 2, isn't it?
Yeah. Bulldogs versus Eagles.
Yeah. Well, interesting this week, John. Josh Schuster dropped to New South Wales Cup. He didn't run the ball once against the Warriors. He's an expensive New South Wales Cup player on $800,000 a year.
Yeah, $800,000 for New South Wales Cup. So I would expect the New South Wales Cup team to win on the back of Josh Schuster.
Yeah.
But both these teams have literally nothing to play for. Neither of them have new incoming coaches to impress. Neither of them can move anywhere on the ladder. There's literally nothing to play for.
I think that both teams would just be looking to save a bit of face. I think
if the Bulldogs win, they'll have done better than last year in the amount of games they won.
But I mean, I guess that the problem for the Bulldogs is, as we said on our Monday show, John, they were supposed to come, 9th or 10th. That was where they were tipped to finish, and they're 15th. So it is an underperformed season.
And they can't no matter what, they can't move up this round because their differential is minus 309. The two teams, Dolphin and Titans, who are ahead of them on points, are only minus around 100. So
yeah, I think either way, it's going to go down. It's going down as a failed season for the Bulldogs.
And I can't. This is one of the games that I can't tip. Even the odds, if I remember correctly, are very close. The odds, according to SmartB, so Manly are the favourites at $1.60, but Bulldogs are $2.60. So $1.58 at TAB for Manly and $2.67 at Sportsbet is your current best odds. The Sea Eagles started the week at $1.57. And then haven't moved, but the Bulldogs started the week at $2.95 and gone down by 30 cents. So, look, it's a hard call.
Yeah, I mean, both teams have the advantage of, as you said, they're not playing for anything, so the pressure's off. And they're playing without that pressure could free them up a bit. They might play a bit of footy. They might move away from
could be an exciting, fantastic game. There is Manly have Ruben Garrick is out, which I can't believe we didn't talk about on Monday. Actually, did you see that injury?
Yes.
So that's a
dangerous contact.
Right?
Yeah.
So for people who don't understand, you cannot attack a defending player who is jumping from the ball. But if the ball bounces, you can. So the ball bounced and Garrick left the ground, and then he got hit in the legs and he's fractured his back. Apparently he can play, and he can't do any more damage.
Yeah, right. Wow.
That's a weird thing from the medical staff. He can't do any more damage. I don't really.
He's very fortunate, isn't he?
Yeah, and that's the disease. So he's out. That doesn't change the Sea Eagles that much. And this game's nothing. But the Sunday also at 4 or 5 p.m. at Newcastle. This is old boys round for Newcastle. I am pretty sure. Let's just check that before I give away nonsense. It's the Sharks versus the Knights. So this is a awesome one, right? This is really, really interesting because Sharks and the Knights are on the same amount of points.
Yeah.
Almost. Knights have that bye. The draw they had, right? So they're on 31 points and Sharks are on 32. But their differential is like exactly the same. There's no way they can tie.
Yeah, because Newcastle had that draw.
Yeah, but if the Sharks lose, Knights jump over them because they go to 33 points.
Yeah.
Either way, either Sharks will go to 6th or 7th, Knights will go to above them 5th or 6th.
Yeah.
So it's very actually like really intriguing, that game.
Yeah, and 7 wins in a row for the Knights going into this game, Josh. Yeah. And Jackson Hastings has been named to return from that ankle injury.
He's a good player.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is old boys round, which will be a big boost for the Knights. So they'll have a packed stadium. They'll have all the old boys there, and they're fighting for a, last round home final.
Yeah, they are. So they're looking at finishing 5th or 6th and getting that home final. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, there's a slight chance they could make the top 4, but again, they need to win both games. Melbourne need to lose both, and they need other results to go.
Yeah, it's not.
So we're getting into these things that could happen but won't happen.
Yeah, exactly. Again. So, but it is possible for them to finish 5th as I said, if they beat the Sharks on Sunday, and the Raiders lose against the Broncos, the Knights will jump to 5th. And that's why the Broncos, Raiders, Sharks, Knights games are actually the things that are going to really, really, really heavily decide the bottom 4 of the top 8.
Yeah, 100% going to be very interesting.
So that's all the NRL games, but we're still going to talk about the Rabbitohs.
Yes.
Latrell, first of all, Latrell's been suspended for the last round, right? He's copped a 1-week suspension.
For that elbow on Tyson Frizzell.
Yep, right in the back of the head. So Sam Burgess has been sacked.
Yeah.
Did John Morris end up getting the sack or not?
Yeah. So what's happened is the way it happened was John Morris and Sam Burgess were both asked, "Can you buy in for the rest of the year?" John Morris said he could. He's going to the Tigers next year. Yeah. Sam Burgess said, "No, I can't." He's taken exception to According to reports, he feels as though Jason Demetriou, the coach, is giving Cody Walker and Latrell Mitchell preferential treatment. And he's made his feelings clear. He had a tense phone call with Russell Crowe on the matter, and Russell Crowe just hung up on him. So that's that. You know, wouldn't have minded hearing a recording of that conversation, John. So that's how that sort of went down. So good on Sam Burgess for sticking to his gun and saying, no, I'm not putting up with that.
Look at where they are. You know, they're not playing well.
Yeah, he's seen something that he didn't like. Obviously, and I'd say this has happened over a period of time. He's called it out, and he said, well, no, I'm gone. He's going to take up a role as head coach of Warrington next year.
Yep.
So, I mean, they've come out and said, well, his partner's just had a child. Well, come on, there's a couple of weeks to go in the season, plus potentially finals. You're not quitting for that reason. So there's more to it, and that's just a PR line that they've put out there. I don't think anybody's buying that. So a very eventful couple of days at the Rabbitohs. And I've got to say, this Latrell Mitchell, John, just causing a lot of dramas at the club.
I think so. You see, he was shotgunning a beer on stage at Luke's concert.
There was that.
They had the video session that's been publicised. It was Angus Crichton.
Cameron Murray said
Angus
Latrell said to Cam Murray, "When I call for it, give it to me." And Cam Murray replied, "Most of the time, you're not there."
And that was there was a Braithen Astor highlighted a lot of some video footage the other day of Latrell Mitchell, exactly like Cam Murray's right. Latrell Mitchell isn't following up in support play as you expect from a fullback. He's not organising the defence. He's not doing like a fullback job.
He missed easy tackles. He wouldn't chase players who were going in to score. He just didn't want to tackle. He missed a goal from under the posts at a crucial stage of the game. It just feels like, John, every time you look up, there's a drama with him. As you said before, he's going to be suspended for the last game. Every time you look up, he's either suspended, he's injured. As you said, sculled that beer at that Luke Combs concert. This Cameron Murray drama as well. This is a team that's on the fringe of the top 8. Then it's not like they're in the top 4 because of him.
He's been out all year injured.
So I'm going to put it out there, John. I think it's at a point now with Latrell Mitchell where they need to sit down at the end of the season and work out an exit strategy from this contract. He's contracted through to the end of 2027. There's conflicting reports on what his salary is, but it's big. It's Latrell Mitchell. It's big. You're going to find a club who's going to come in and be willing to pay the whole amount to get him out of the contract. Someone's going to come in and pay the amount. What is this? Is these dramas we've gone through? And this is serious stuff. Not chasing for players, missing goals from in front, causing angst with the captain, forcing a legend of the club like Sam Burgess, an assistant coach, to walk out on the club. Are they going to put up with this for 4 more years, John?
No. And Sam Burgess is a classic. Look, people will say Sam Burgess got some preferential treatment at Souths, but I think it's more that he was treated so well because he was such a good clubman. Like, he did everything to win that premiership.
Yeah. Sam Burgess would never not chase for players.
100%. He definitely not. He always committed everything in his life to the club. He has had some drama since then. South has stood by him, but that's more as a
off-field.
It's
indiscretion.
South repaying him for what he did for them. He brought players to the club. He was star power. He went to the club when Russell Crowe and Peter Holmes bought it as like the first actual proper marquee signing in like 20 years.
Yeah.
Souths were a joke. And what Russell Crowe has done with them, and it's all well publicised. It's all history. There's some blah 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 anger and so on still there, but they're at a point where they're choosing Latrell Mitchell over Sam Burgess. It's madness. Russell Crowe apparently did used to get a lot involved in the day-to-day running of the club, and the fact that he got involved in the Sam Burgess thing and John Morris thing is like a massive happenstance. But like I can't believe they chose Latrell over Sam Burgess, because Latrell's not going to do anything for him for the rest of the year, whereas Sam Burgess could actually. Sam Burgess, as a coach, as a clubman, as everything, he could have helped them get to that 8th spot. I don't think Latrell will. Well, he definitely won't now because he's out.
And as you said, going into, Sam Burgess' standing at that club, he could have easily just sat there and gone through the motions and collected his paycheck because he's Sam Burgess at Souths. But he hasn't. He's stuck to his guns and gone, no, I'm not putting up with that. He hasn't said that, but he said, well, look, if that's going to be allowed, then I'm not here. I'm going, and he's stuck to it. So good on him.
Yeah, I think so too. And Latrell, I agree with you. He's got to go. Like that's a solution. Just get him out. There's 16 other clubs in the competition who will take him. 16. There'll be there's 16 other clubs.
And they won't have to pay him to play for someone else.
Exactly.
There'll be a club who'll pay his whole salary. Otherwise, it's either that or 4 more years of this stuff, John.
Yeah, look, just keep going. And it is, you're right, it's drama. Drama has followed him the entire time he's been at South.
Yeah, every time you look, it's a suspension. I know you can't help getting injured, but he gets injured a lot.
Injuries
it's daily drama.
Injuries come for some people. Like, I don't know Latrell Mitchell's training attitude, but injuries can come a lot from lack of commitment to conditioning training. So one of the things that superstars do is historically they're a little bit more lazy at training, and so if Latrell's not doing his strength and conditioning properly, not committing as much, like doing what they call cheating, that would go a lot to explain why he's so injured. They'll use the excuse that he's because he throws himself so hard into it, but man, that guy's swinging arms. He's
A lot. You mentioned the word excuse. A lot of excuses get made for him.
Absolutely. The difference between a reason and an excuse? A reason is when you tells the person before, an excuse is when it's afterwards.
Yeah, that's right.
Or when something happening and then we've got to have a Latrell Mitchell reason, that's an excuse. So yeah, I like that. Yep, let's get rid of him. Anyway, I hate Rabbitohs. I'm glad they're missing the 8. They're not one of the clubs that I like. So that's the NRL for the weekend. It's going to be really interesting. It is that Knights versus Sharks game that will decide the outcome of the 8, and a lot of decisions will be made by all of the other clubs in the 8 for next week based on the outcome of that Knights and Sharks game on Sunday. Yeah. Very excited to see the Monday update actually for that. So on to the AFL. Yep. AFL's got some stinkers of games, but it's also got some amazing ones. Like the AFL has some games that are way worse even than those NRL stinkers. But we'll start with the Friday night game at Essendon versus Collingwood. At the MCG.
Got some stats here for you on that one, John. Yeah, so Collingwood's won 7 of the last. Collingwood's won 7 of the last 10 between these two teams. Collingwood have won the last 3. Collingwood won by 13 points back on Anzac Day. All 3 of those games that Collingwood won, the last 3, were decided by a margin of 13 points or less. So that Anzac Day margin of 13 points was the biggest margin of the last 3, so very close in recent meetings. And the 2 teams have actually 38 all in games played at the MCG. So there you go.
And Collingwood aren't in the best of form. They've dropped 3 of their last 5.
Missing Nick Dacos with that injury and missing Darcy Moore as well. Darcy Moore, the skipper, to come back hopefully for the first final. But yeah, again, Nick Dacos, he's looking dicey. Might get back for the prelim or the grand final.
They could lose first spot, but it doesn't matter in the AFL. You get nothing for getting first spot except fan bragging rights, because they've got the exact same percentage as the Lions, who are coming second, and then they are 4 points ahead. So them losing would drop their percentage.
So a simple equation for them: they win and they finish first at the end of the regular season.
They lose and it's possible for them. It will be decided on what day is the Brisbane game. Brisbane game?
Saturday, yeah. Saturday the
on Saturday who the first and second spots are. First and second in the AFL for other people who don't normally follow the AFL is exactly the same. At the end of the season, for the teams, the only thing that you get benefit from is fan bragging rights.
Yeah.
If Brisbane pip the Collingwood and get the first spot, Brisbane fans will be like, cool. You were ahead all season. What happened? So yeah, it's to be honest, I think it's kind of a must-win for Collingwood. They lost last week. They need to get a winning form.
Yeah,
into the
finals. They want to win going into the finals.
Essendon, they have nothing to play for. They won't be able to make the 8. If they win, they'll be on the same amount of points as the GWS Giants, but their percentage is 92.7 versus 105. I can't see them scoring enough points, and the Giants losing by enough points to get Essendon over the line there.
Yeah, always a spiteful clash, that one, Essendon Collingwood, the old rivals doing battle.
They might get it. They'll get a big crowd. It'll be great. I wish I could go to that, but it's in Melbourne.
I'm sure they'll get 100,000 there. They'll fill the stadium.
Last game of the round, Collingwood's got to win. Yeah. So then Saturday we've got the Hawks versus the Dockers. This team, this is...
so Hawthorn are... I think if we look on smartb.com.au, I think Hawthorn are favourites to win this one.
Like super heavy, if I remember correctly. Yep. So Hawthorn's paying $1.60 right now with Betfair. They actually opened the week at $1. They opened the week at $1.60. They're currently at $1.64.
Yeah. And you know, there's some stats that go the way of the Dockers, John, even though they are the outsiders. So Fremantle won the last 5 games between these two sides. That includes a thumping 69-point win back in round 8 this year. In the last 3 of those wins, the 5 I'm talking about that they've won, the average winning margin for Fremantle has been 48 points, so 8 goals. The average winning margin in the last 3. So if you're looking for some value for the punters...
Yeah, $2.50 right now.
Fremantle, there you go.
Beginning of the week, they were $2.60 with Unibet, and now they've firmed to best bets, $2.50 with Betfair. Betfair's offering good odds on AFL week in, week out, actually. Just remember, what are you really gambling with?
Yeah.
This one's a really interesting one, actually, because Fremantle have better attacking and defending. So they've scored more points, and they've defended more points. But they've really struggled all year to string any wins in a row. I think they won 4 in a row early in the year. Yeah. And I was like, wow, their season's on track. But then since then they've struggled. They haven't won 2 in a row. They lost last week, so if you go off win-loss form, they should win this week. Hawthorn also lost last week, and they've been all over the shop as well. You know, like loss, win, loss, like this kind of thing. So I would actually, this game is interesting just in the fact that it's super hard to call, but there's some good odds you could put on the Dockers on winning.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, again, they won the last 5, so...
I might slide them into a multi, actually.
Yeah, I'll
put a $2 multi on.
Why not, yeah.
Then the other game at the same time in Hobart on Saturday is North Melbourne versus the Suns.
Yeah, so I'm guessing, I'm pretty sure the Suns are pretty clear favourites for this one, Joel.
You would say so.
Yeah. But, North Melbourne have won 3 of the last 8 between these two teams, John. So while they're struggling, they are struggling. Their record isn't too bad. North Melbourne also won the only previous clash between these teams at Blunston Arena in Hobart. So there you go.
Okay. In the end, the Giants can't drop any lower at the end of this game than what they are now. They'll stay at 8th, and then it'll come up to the Bulldogs game later that night to see who finishes 8th. They can finish higher, but not enough that it matters. They can finish either 7th or 8th.
Yeah.
GWS have to win to stay in the 8th. If they win, they stay in the 8th.
Simple equation.
Yeah, the GWS got way more to play for, but interesting if North Melbourne can actually pip them, because that will Okay, so we've got the Lions versus St Kilda.
Yeah, Brisbane and St Kilda the next game.
So this is actually a top 8 clash.
Yeah.
And
St Kilda locked in their final spot last week with that win over Geelong.
And the top 8 of the AFL is nowhere near set. You know, the order. You've got.
I think the Bulldogs are the only team that could come in, but as you say, in terms of the order, the spots in the order, there's some movement that could happen there, John.
So this is right. So if the Lions win and Collingwood lose, Lions will take top spot. St Kilda can actually drop to 8th and lose their 5th or 6th spot.
Okay, so there's incentive for them.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be easy.
It depends on the Swans and the Giants' outcomes.
Yeah.
Whether they win and if St Kilda lose. If St Kilda win, they confirm their 5th, 6th spot, so they get there.
Yeah. Do you have the SmartB odds on that game there, John?
Oh, actually, yeah. So what have we got? It is
so heavy favouritism for the Lions.
Yeah, Lions open the week at $1.03 best odds with Colossal Bet there, and then now Betfair have confirmed to the best odds of $1.26.
Yeah, there you go.
Whereas St Kilda is paying $4.50 with PointsBet. You'd have to say the Lions get it done simply because of their position.
Yeah.
But it's a bit of an intriguing game simply because it can really mess up the entire ladder for the bottom 4, or it can kind of play around the top 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Just some numbers on this game too, John. There's an even split between these two teams in their last 10 games, 5 wins apiece.
Wow.
So there's reason for St Kilda to be optimistic. Also, their overall head-to-head between these two clubs is very tight. Brisbane only has a slight advantage at 27-25 from their 52 meetings, John.
See, and those are the odds just telling you that Brisbane's going to win, but it could. I don't think St Kilda want to drop out of that 5th and 6th. So
no, well, the way they played against Geelong last week, they took the premiers out of the equation. You've got to give them some sort of a chance.
They have won 4 of their last 5. St Kilda has, so...
certainly not without hope, John.
So is Brisbane the Lions, but it's an intriguing match.
Yeah.
And then we've got the Cats and the Bulldogs, which, as I said before, if the Suns win, the Bulldogs... Oh, actually, the Bulldogs can still take 8th spot. So they've can't... Oh, no, wait, sorry. So if the Giants win... Sorry, let's go back to that.
That's all right.
If the
That's all right. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not until the Giants game that it's decided. But Western Bulldogs are going to play the Cats. You would have to say the Bulldogs are going to win. It's the Bulldogs' season on the line. If they win and the Giants lose, then the Bulldogs will go into the 8th.
I can give you some reason to be optimistic for Geelong here, though, John. So Geelong's won 8 of the last 10 between these two teams.
Oh, wow.
Geelong have won the last 5. Geelong won back in round 12 this year by 22 points. The Bulldogs have only won 13 times from 59 games between these sides at the venue. It's got a different name every year. The old Cardinia Park.
Geelong.
Yes, Geelong's venue. And Geelong lead the overall head-to-head 107-57 between these two sides. And I think if you look at smartb.com.au, John, the Bulldogs have come into favouritism this game, but they weren't when the market's open.
That's right. So they started the week at $2.70 with Unibet compared to Colossal Bet's $2.08.
And so that's flipped around. I think that's the only game in the two codes where that's happened this weekend.
Bulldogs are now firm to $1.80 with Betfair, and Geelong is $2.22 with Betfair. So remember, you win some, you lose more.
Yeah.
But it is So the only thing Geelong has to play for in this match is screw up the Bulldogs, and some sports people are pretty spiteful.
Yeah. I think it'll give Geelong enough of an incentive, John.
Yeah, 100%. And then we move to the absolute stinker of the rounds, the West Coast Eagles versus the Adelaide Crows.
Yeah, Adelaide overwhelming favourites to win that one, John.
Currently paying $5.40 on the Eagles.
Do you want me to give you any West Coast optimism, John? I can give you a little bit.
Sure, you can lie to me.
Well, what isn't a lie is that West Coast have won 5 of the last 8 games between these two teams and 6 of the last 10. West Coast have won 2 of the 3 games between these teams at, I think the game's at Optus Stadium. They've won 2 of the 3 between the teams at the venue, at home. So, and you might look at that and go, oh yeah, well they're at home, but I mean this is West Coast we're talking about. They're not exactly flying with a record like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you've given me no hope.
yeah, I tried.
Yeah,
I tried.
It's not like the only thing West Coast is playing for is to avoid the spoon. Which, if North Melbourne win, and West Coast lose, then West Coast get the spoon. But North Melbourne isn't going to win, so yeah, it's just a stinker of a game. It's not worth watching. Even if I was a fan, I wouldn't be watching. It's just a pointless match. It does nothing for the game. Does nothing for either team.
Okay, well maybe should we move on to Port Adelaide and Richmond on Sunday at Adelaide Oval?
So this match is very intriguing to me if the Lions get smashed, okay? Because Port can actually jump to second. It's highly unlikely because the Lions have to lose by like 100 points or something. I saw the calculation.
Yeah.
If they have to lose by like literally 100 points, or Port Adelaide has to win by 100 or in between, right? But Port can in theory jump to second. It's not realistic. So that's what makes it intriguing to me. Can they actually gain 12 percentage points in a round? Highly unlikely.
No, that's not going to happen.
And Richmond is actually currently paying $6.
Oh wow! But Richmond have won 6 of the last 10 between these two, John.
Blown out to $6.80.
And also Richmond have won 5 of the 10 games played between these two teams at Adelaide Oval too. So there you go. That's probably a better statistic. Away from home to have won half the games.
I think Richmond are a chance. And it is worth putting like a sneaky $10 on that, $6.80. All right, no one else will give them a chance, but it is worth putting a sneaky 5 or 10 on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they are a chance, a small chance, but a chance nonetheless. Port Adelaide cannot drop out of the top 4. It's just impossible.
Yeah.
They can drop to 4th. They can drop to 4th, but. That's going to also come down to the next game on Sunday. The Swans versus Melbourne at the SCG.
So Swans favourites slightly, but Melbourne won by 50 points the last time these two teams played back in round 3, John.
That was when the Swans sucked.
It was, yes, and they have come into form since then.
So this is a thing with this one. The Swans can finish 1 spot higher. Irrelevant. Oh no, they could finish.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be tricky.
They need St Kilda.
It's going to be tricky to make up that 5-point difference on the percentage. You'd have to think the Swans can't finish any better than 6th there. Yeah, because they're not going to make up that. Or it's unlikely they'd make up that difference on Carlton.
No, I didn't do the calculations on that one, and it won't be. So
I mean, if they were playing against, a North Melbourne or a West Coast, they might be able to rack up a score. But, it's hard to see that happening.
Yeah, I think so. They had a draw, right? Yeah, they did. They had a draw earlier in the year, and that is what has bitten their position on the ladder. So they can finish 6th. They got a lot to play for. They're going to do that buddies farewell, so they got a lot to play for. It's their last home game of the season. More to play for. Melbourne is fully safe in the top 4. It cannot be taken from them. They can, in theory, finish 2nd.
Yep.
They actually do have a better points differential than the Lions. If they win and the Lions lose, percentage.
Yep.
Melbourne will jump to 2nd.
There you go.
Both Port Adelaide and the Lions lose, Melbourne will jump to 2nd.
There you go. There's a lot of movement that could happen.
Yeah, both of the teams have a lot to play for. So I think that's
plenty of twists and turns in the last round.
Probably the match of the round for the AFL. It'll probably be this Sunday is a cracker because there's that Knights and Sharks game, Swans and Melbourne game, and Giants versus Carlton. This is the 3rd top 8 match. It's possible for the Giants to jump to 5th. And it's not the top 8 is only going to be finalised after this game.
Yep, and GWS have won 5 of the last 8 between these two teams, and they lead the overall head-to-head meetings 9-6 between these two teams. John?
So what are the odds on this one according to SmartB?
I think Carlton are the favourites.
They're paying $1.60 with Sportsbet, while the Giants are paying $2.74 with Betfair.
Yeah, but, the Giants are a chance with those.
So, in theory, they need to win to confirm. And so, when do the Bulldogs play, did we say? Bulldogs play
Saturday against Geelong, Cardinia Park.
If the Bulldogs win, the Giants need to win.
Yeah.
And so that will also give another motivation. We'll know on Saturday just how much motivation.
Well, let's hope that happens to keep the interest levels up in the last round. We want to see as many games with top 8 ramifications as possible.
So the Giants are also, they're slightly better in attack than Carlton. Slightly better, but much worse in defence. They conceded 300, almost, 250, 220 more points than Carlton this year.
And that's a 10.5 percentage difference there. Carlton 116.1, GWS 105.6.
And Carlton are on a tear right now. They've won 1 million games in a row, whereas the Giants have just broke their 2-match loss streak and won last week. So this will be another one that's a cracker of a game. Sunday is Sunday you've got, if the Lions get smashed, Port versus Richmond become an interesting match. Swans versus Melbourne decides positions, and Giants versus Carlton decide position. Sunday's an AFL person's, but then you over in the NRL, you've got Knights versus Sharks. You've got
that's what you want.
I need 2 TVs.
Yeah, I think I know what I'll be doing on Sunday then, John.
I might actually have to get 3 TVs. There's never any news in the AFL. Everyone's so well behaved.
They don't give us much, do they?
AFL isn't the gift that keeps on giving to sports news reports.
Yeah.
So we can move on, if you don't mind, to the Basketball World Cup.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
Look, as I said the other day, I like basketball. One of the things I don't like about basketball is the fact that Australia is actually going to play 2 games before Monday. Right, so we have to do 2 quick previews. I'm not going to preview the whole World Cup. There's a stack of games. Yeah. Nobody really cares that much about the other teams.
So it's Finland, is it? Finland?
So Finland on Friday at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
You do have to have ESPN subscription, which is going to really cut into their ratings. This is actually Australia. I've got some notes for this. So Australia, this is their chance to win a first ever medal at a World Cup. Yeah. Last time, 2019, they finished 4th. They have 9 NBA players in their squad. 9. Finland, on the other hand, only has 1. It's I'm terrible at the names pronunciations. It's Lauri Markkanen.
It's alright. Yeah, I don't think anyone's gonna call you out on that one, John.
So the thing with this guy, right? He plays for the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
He is a massive unit. He's 7 feet tall. He doesn't look disproportionate. He just looks like one of those Finnish Viking type will murder people. Yeah. He's all rookie first team. He averages 25.6 points and 8.6 rebounds per game this season. He is an all-star and the NBA's most improved player award winner. Right. This is the thing with Finland, right? They only have that one NBA player. Yep. Everyone knows the whole team is going to rotate around him. He's going to play big minutes. He's going to be the number 1 attacking point, probably the defensive leader in the defense as well. Australia has 9 players that can cover him and are used to playing against him. So you're gonna have to expect guys like Paddy Mills and stuff like that to keep the Finns down and keep the ball away from Markkanen, I can't.
You talk about Paddy Mills though, John. So it's the 3rd highest scorer at the Tokyo Olympics in 2021, 23.3 points per game. He's been a bit underwhelming in the friendlies going in, but you'd have to think he'll come good for the real thing. He's so comfortable shooting those 3-pointers. You'd have to think he's the player to watch for the Boomers if they're going to really push to finish on the podium. It's going to come on the back of Paddy Mills.
So as I said on Monday, I think Australia is in they can actually win. It won't just be their first medal. I think they can actually win. I hope
that'd be huge. Given the USA don't seem to take these tournaments very seriously.
They don't care about the World Cup. Yeah. It's sad. Yeah. And on the back of the Matildas, historic World Cup, it'd be great if Australia has a historic World Cup basketball run as well.
100%. Fingers crossed, John.
And so to the second game of the weekend for Australia.
Yes.
It kind of speaks to how not consuming basketball is that you can play 2 games in 3 days. So Sunday, it's actually Sunday week 2 of the World Cup actually starts on Sunday. Australia will kick it off playing Germany at 7:30. Australia should win this one. Germany is a better team. They've actually won tournaments. They won the 2022 Eurobasket tournament. They've currently got 4 active NBA players. Their key player is Dennis Schroeder from the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah.
He's actually expected to be one of the best players in the tournament, Schroeder. I think Germany is the biggest danger game for Australia.
Yeah.
It could be that they should win. I think the NBA experience will overcome it. NBA experience, most important thing in basketball.
Yeah.
The schedule is up on SmartB, so have a check. But I think Australia can win this one, but it's going to be a much tougher game, much more interesting. I will be watching that one. I can't watch the...
You got your ESPN subscription?
Sure. There is no pirate links here. No, I do have an ESPN. Actually.
Sorry, I shouldn't have said anything.
All the sports subscriptions I have, all of them. Because in the ESPN subscription you get the NFL, NHL and stuff. One of the issues with KO also has NHL. One of the issues with American sports is the NFL preseason starts this week as well. Unfortunately, in Australia, we can't watch every game. We definitely can't break down every NFL game.
Yeah,
it's a massive conference. Like there's so many games, and they play 30 games in one day.
Yeah. A lot of those games are on at 7, mate. Those back channels on Channel 7. Yeah,
it's quite hard to watch any American sport. It's quite hard to watch all of the games, all of the matches if you're really into the sport, because you have to go to multiple different sources. Your best bet is to get a VPN and pretend you're in America. The baseball season's also on, but they play all their matches. I think they played a bunch of games yesterday.
Just going to say with the NFL, John, the Kansas City Chiefs hope be looking to go back to back with the Super Bowl. No Tom Brady this year, right? He's finally retired for the second time. Yeah.
I think the NFL is really the preseason's on right now, and college football is on right now. It's really intriguing because preseason is, they talk about it in all sports. Preseason is meaningless. NFL, it's like super meaningless. It's a lot to do with the fact that they have 50 players on a team, and the combinations change a lot throughout the preseason. They also sack a lot of players, sign on a lot of players. There's mid-season trades and things like that. So it's not until you get around halfway through the season in the NFL that you can actually start really getting deep into it about who you think can actually win. Opening form for the NFL season can mean nothing.
Yeah.
But that'll be a really good thing to watch, actually. I'm pumped for the Super Bowl. Hopefully we run a SmartB event.
Yeah, and you wanted to talk a bit about the baseball too?
Yeah, so that's the baseball. They play a lot of their matches midweek. They had a whole bunch of matches yesterday, which I didn't have time, unfortunately, to catch up on what their results were.
Teams have played 162 games each this season. I'm going to play a game every day.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
So there's a bunch of games today as well. There's they play 2 games in a row. And that speaks a lot to the physical demands of baseball.
I guess for the batters, it's not really an issue, and the pitchers they go through a rotation of pitches.
So my family on my mum's side is really into baseball, and I was making fun of them once for come on, man, they play 5 games in a row, and they told me how is that any different from a cricket test match?
Yeah. That's right. For the batters, they stand there and swing the bat.
Yeah, exactly.
The pitchers, it's different, but the pitchers are on rotation. So pitchers are like the fast bowlers in cricket. You have your rotation.
I'm a Dodgers fan, but I don't really follow baseball.
If I had to say a team, I'd go the Yankees, but I'm the same. I'm not.
I don't really follow it. It's just, we might keep do some social media posts about it, because I know there are a few people that are interested in it. But it's weird because they play games all week. Bunch of games yesterday. There's a stack of games today, a stack of games tomorrow, and so it's kind of cool if you're into sports like baseball because you can watch baseball every day. But again, you need 50 different streaming services and a VPN.
Yeah, can you imagine? Can you imagine being able to watch the Dragons on Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night? Maybe you need a break though.
Not this year or the last 4 years. Yeah. So you wanted to talk about the tennis?
Yes, I did. So Carlos Alcaraz and Novak Djokovic had an epic Cincinnati Open final. For people who are not that interested in tennis, the Cincinnati Open is the last big tournament going into the US Open, which starts Tuesday our time next week. So that was their first meeting since their epic 5-set final at Wimbledon, where Alcaraz won and knocked Djokovic off his throne at Wimbledon. The match lasted nearly 4 hours, which is unheard of for a 3-set match. Unheard of. Djokovic needed 5 match points to win. It's his 3rd Cincinnati Open title. Djokovic saved match point. Won the last 2 sets in 2 tiebreakers, 9-7 and then 7-4. Djokovic was treated for heat illness early in the 2nd set. I'll just read a quote from Djokovic. He said, "Overall, this was the toughest and most exciting match I've ever been part of," and that's a huge call considering his rivalries with Federer and Nadal over the years. Wow. So Djokovic only now needs to win 1 match at the US Open to regain the world number 1 ranking, because he didn't have any points to defend from last year because he wasn't allowed in because he wouldn't be vaccinated. So him and Alcaraz, it's shaping as the new sort of Djokovic-Nadal rivalry, the Djokovic-Alcaraz rivalry. They've traded the number 1 ranking 6 times this year. They're 2-2 overall in their head-to-head rivalry. Alcaraz won the US Open last year, so he's trying to defend his title this year. It's that Cincinnati win was the first tournament in America in 2 years for Djokovic. Obviously, with all the vaccination drama. Djokovic has won 3 US Opens. At 36, he's the oldest Cincinnati champion in the Open era. And that final, him and Alcaraz, is the longest ATP 1000 best of 3 sets final ever.
That's going to be interesting. The US Open, the time zone is so difficult for us here in Australia.
I mean, but I guess the good thing, John, is that the night matches are great. If it starts at 7:30 p.m. over there for a night session on Arthur Ashe Stadium, it starts at 9:30 in the morning here.
I'll put it on put it on the computer. So, do you think Alcaraz will defend?
It's a really tough question. I suspect that Djokovic will just get him. I think there's going to be a bit of back and forth in this rivalry. I think Djokovic will want to respond after losing Wimbledon. You'd probably have to favour Djokovic, I think, in this tournament and in Australia. At the French Open, though, that's Alcaraz. As amazing as it is, Alcaraz has won the US Open and Wimbledon. But he's actually a clay courter. He hasn't won the French yet.
That's bizarre.
But it is bizarre. But I'd suspect at the French Open, you'll see Alcaraz will get the better of him. And, Alcaraz won Wimbledon this year. I've just got this feeling, and I know Alcaraz won the US Open last year, and it hasn't, Djokovic has, and I say only won it 3 times. Compared to the other majors, the US Open's not one of his strongest majors, but I just have this feeling that he is the best player of all time. I feel like he's going to just come back and just pip Alcaraz here, and it would be his 24th Grand Slam singles title. It would put him 2 clear of Nadal on 22.
First of all, just to comment on that, how dare you? Roger Federer is the greatest player.
Oh, wow. All right. We've got another debate for another day, John.
Just because of his attitude. Like the thing with Djokovic is he always, whenever he loses, he comes back and wins.
That's the thing. I don't know about you, but I've just got that feeling that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, so now he's beaten Alcaraz, but not in a major. He's got to come back and win that major. Like, that's the thing. Like, he has to, and that's the way he's built.
Yeah.
That's the way he's wired. There is no choice in this matter. He has to win. And if he doesn't win, like, it just, I would expect him to go do a calendar year Grand Slam.
Yeah, he's just a guy who I've never seen anyone play the big points better. You might remember that 2019 Wimbledon final between him and Roger Federer. Federer led 8-7 in the fifth set, 40-15 on serve, Federer. And Djokovic came back and won. Yeah. There is no other player in the history of the game that could have come back against Federer in that situation to win Wimbledon.
He's just built differently. He's something really just weird about him that he can just do that. And that's why I think he will beat Alcaraz because of that. Alcaraz beat him once in a Grand Slam, and so it's unacceptable.
Yeah,
it's just unacceptable.
Yeah, you just get that feeling. Look, if Alcaraz were to win this, well, then we're looking at a real changing of the guard here.
Djokovic is ending. What did you say? 36.
Yeah.
So it's reaching the end of the era. It has to slow down. He's 36. He's not going to.
And there's a theory that not now that he's gone past Nadal, and look, Nadal still plans to come back next year, by the way, but his rankings just spiraled out. His rankings over 100 now. Yeah. Spiraled. I think you're right. I think it is time to call it quits.
Not because he's old, but because he's
because of his body. Yeah, because of his body. But there is this theory around Djokovic that because he's got the 23 majors, so he's gone clear of Nadal, I think we can be fairly sure Nadal's not going to win another one, although you'd never write him off at the French Open.
Well, if Djokovic isn't there.
Yeah, and he's won the French Open 14 times, so if he's ever in the draw, you can't write him off. But realistically, Djokovic is going to finish ahead of Nadal on majors, so there's part of you that's going, well, is that enough for Djokovic to call it quits? Yeah. I know he's got this Alcaraz rivalry, but Alcaraz has won 2 majors. I think it's going to take Alcaraz a while to get into that.
That's the region. Nadal-Federer rivalry when Nadal comes in 10 years younger than Federer, and it's a rivalry. But realistically, this is not a real rivalry. I think it's more of a handing over of the torch. Djokovic will peter out slow down over the next couple of years. Alcaraz will be one of the guys that goes and plays for a long time at the top of the game.
100%.
Good tennis year actually ahead of us. Hopefully we can get some Australian people doing something.
Yeah, so the other thing you mentioned, Alex de Minaur has actually gone to number 12 in the world rankings. So that's actually better than Nick Kyrgios's best world ranking of 13.
Yes.
And for Alex de Minaur, he's a player who doesn't have a lot of weapons in his game, doesn't have a big serve. He's that workman-like player like Leighton Hewitt was, although Leighton Hewitt won 2 majors and was world number 1, so we can't put de Minaur in that category. But world ranking of 12 for Alex de Minaur, I think that's a sensational result, and he's absolutely maximising his talent.
Yeah, hopefully he can do really well. So. But it's good.
Yeah.
So there's also on Sunday, I just want to discuss the UFC.
Yeah.
It is a fight night. It's not an exciting numbered event or anything like that, but it is ex-champ Max Holloway going up against the Korean Zombie. Here's the thing about Max Holloway, if you don't follow UFC much. Max Holloway he lost to Conor McGregor in 2012 and then didn't lose again until he decided to try and go up a weight class and fight Dustin Poirier and lost.
Yeah.
Since then, since 2013, the only people that Max Holloway has lost to is Dustin Poirier at a higher weight class and people named Alex Volkanovski. So he has lost 3 times against Alex Volkanovski. You would have to think that he never ever fights for the title again as long as Alex Volkanovski is there.
Yeah.
Last time they fought, Alex Volkanovski told him, get out of my division.
Right, okay.
Problem with Volkanovski is he is so dominant.
Yeah.
And anyone who tries to fight for the championship has to go through Max Holloway, and Max Holloway shuts them down. So you would have to expect that Max Holloway pieces up Korean Zombie. Korean Zombie's no slouch. He did fight for the title. Volkanovski, in the middle of the fight, suggested to Korean Zombie to stop. Said, are you sure you want to keep going?
That's an interesting time to make the suggestion.
Yes, are you sure you want to keep going, mate? And Korean Zombie said, okay, and Volkanovski said, okay. Hit him a few more times and said, are you sure? It was... Yeah, but Korean Zombie is a 3rd place fighter at best. There's also Anthony Smith on the card. So Anthony Smith fought for the title against John Jones, the greatest of all time, even though he's a drug cheat, and he hasn't been the same since.
Yeah.
He lost to Johnny Walker last in the decision, and he's crazy. He was shouting at Johnny Walker about how Johnny Walker home invaded his family because it was publicised. Anthony Smith did have a home invasion in his house.
Oh wow!
It wasn't Johnny Walker. But yeah, Anthony Smith's been off kilter since that John Jones fight. He's fighting Ryan Spann did beat Ryan Spann recently, actually, in 2021 by rear naked choke. And he should probably win this. There's also Talia Santos, who is 19-2, versus Erin Blanchfield, who is 11-1. So Talia Santos, interesting thing about her is her last fight was a split decision against Valentina Shevchenko. Valentina Shevchenko recently lost her title, but she's one of the greatest female fighters of all time.
Yep.
She went through a 5-fight streak where she only got hit with 9 significant strikes or something. She's just untouchable. Her loss came from a rear naked choke.
So that's only, about 2 significant strikes a fight?
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like much, does it?
It's nothing. It's, she's... Bullet Shevchenko's fighting to take her title back, I think, next week or the week after. So Erin Blanchfield, as I said, she's 11-1. She absolutely dominated Jessica Andrade, who is a monster. She is like the kind of thing where it's like, I'm a man, I could beat a woman, but not her. Blanchfield really wants a title shot, so she's going to look to punish Santos to get it, and Santos wants another title shot. If Shevchenko loses against Alex Grasso next week after in their title fight, whoever wins this fight will get to fight for the title next. So that's a really, really good fight. There's also Giga Chikadze is making his return against Alex Caceres, which would be good. And Junior Tafa opens up the card against Parker Porter. Junior Tafa expected 1-punch knockout.
Yeah.
The really weird thing about this card for UFC fans is it's in Singapore. So the time is strange. It's not on a Sunday. It starts at 7 p.m. on Saturday night with the prelims, and the main card is at 10 p.m. and it will finish at 1 a.m.
Right. So is Singapore similar to our time zone, John?
It's 5 hours behind, I believe. 5 or 6 hours behind.
5 hours behind. Okay. Yeah. So maybe not. So the fight starts at 7.
No, wait, it might be 3 hours behind. It's close to us. Yeah.
Okay. So it's not the worst for us then.
Yeah, it's actually like 7 p.m. prelims. So prelims normally start at 5 p.m. with main card kicking off at 7, so I'll finish at 10 p.m. for Americans, basically. Yeah. So this is actually, aside from being in Australia, but even when they have it in Australia, it's like start at 7 a.m. So this is actually the best time for Australians. The fact that it's in Singapore. It's weird.
Yeah,
it's really weird for us because normally UFC I wake up at 8 a.m. on a Sunday to watch. This is the thing. But this one I get to wait till 7 p.m. on a Saturday to watch. So it's going to be a really weird card just because of that. But it's an interesting one because there's a couple of, Max Holloway. What the hell is the UFC going to do with Max Holloway after he pieces up Korean Zombie? They want him to move up. When he did move up and fought Dustin Poirier punished the crap out of him. But Dustin Poirier is a weight bully. He cuts a lot of weight to get down to his division, and he's supposedly moving up. I think Max Holloway can push very well at the weight class higher. But yeah, I think they're going to have to encourage him to move up. And then that Santos versus Blanchfield fight will be actually really interesting because that division, Shevchenko's division, is the best women's division.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So, in my opinion, I mean, the other ones are a bit boring.
Can I ask you the question that very occasional UFC watchers like me would ask UFC enthusiasts like yourself?
Absolutely.
What's happened with Conor McGregor?
Man, the thing with the UFC, which people don't realise, so to enter into the UFC, you have to be registered with USADA, and USADA dictates that the USADA rules is you have to have been registered with them for at least 6 months and you have to have taken 2 drug tests, okay? Conor McGregor found out this amazing workaround when he stabbed his leg. He just withdrew himself from the USADA testing pools and went on steroids. Right? So he's currently he piss hot. That's the problem. However, recently there was a fighter pull out and another fighter jumped in and signed with the UFC and was able to fight on a week's notice. So because USADA isn't an official, a commission-based thing, UFC pays them to do the test. So in theory, Dana White can just say, no guys, Conor McGregor's fighting in December. Conor McGregor is insisting he's fighting in December. He wants Sugar Sean O'Malley on the same card. But Conor McGregor talks a lot on Twitter. So
he talks a lot in general, John.
Like, the short answer, in theory, he could fight just because UFC wants him to. But what happens, it's special treatment for Conor. If he fights Michael Chandler, it's going to be like a 1 million PPV buy. I will have a massive party at my house. We'll probably live stream it. It's because Conor McGregor fights are always amazing. But yeah, what's happening with him? Conor McGregor does whatever he wants. What do they say on the internet? He ain't hitting bags. He's hitting bags. Yeah, so that's it. So you've got anything else? I think we'll wrap it up there.
I think, I'm pretty good, John, yeah.
Make sure you head to smartb.com.au for all of your sporting updates. A couple of quick updates on that. We've just released last night our special black book for racing. It will be expanded soon into all sports. We have added Colossal Bet as a new bookmaker as of last night. You can chat on our forums. Don't forget to like and subscribe. SmartB Sports Update Podcast. And we'll catch you guys on Monday.
See ya.